From where are you?
I'm from Johannesburg, and my uncle's from Kimberley.
From Kimberley? Johannesburg as well? Okay, okay. First time in Orania for all of you?
Yes.
Okay.
I came here 30 years ago.
30 years ago? Okay, so this is a...
First telephone system.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So it looks a bit different than it did 30 years ago. For instance, I wasn't here 30 years ago. Okay, the rest of you, it's your first time. Okay. So are you recording? Should I go along so long?
Yep.
The tour. Okay, so Orania, the town itself, was bought in 1991 from the Department of Waterworks. So it was government land, and it was bought in there was a buying transaction to buy the land. However, the idea of Orania, which is a cultural preservation project, it's a Afrikaner homeland, Afrikaner freedom project. That idea comes from the 1950s, 1960s. It started to originate. Then in the 1980s, there was this town was left empty after the Department of Waterworks constructed it around in the 1970s. They constructed it to build the Vanderkloof Dam and the surrounding canals. It was part of the Orange River project. You'll also see that many of the roads in Orania is made of beton, right, of cement, which is interesting. We didn't build it like this. This was due to the guys building the dams and building the canals. They knew better how to work with concrete and cement, and they had the materials on hand than they had tar, so they built the roads of cement as well. Then a group of pioneers, as we call them, Orania pioneers, they saw the land was up for bid. It was a bid that no one else was really interested in, because Orania is situated in we call it a demographic hole, this part of the country. Nobody really wants to live here. It's a harsh environment. There's not a lot of natural resources. It's quite hard and quite harsh. It's difficult to develop here. So we got it. Actually, the pioneers, they lost the bid first to another person, but that person wasn't able to pay up. So it went to the second bid, which was Professor Karel Boshoff and his groups. And then eventually they bought the land. Okay. So the idea of Orania then was to be the growth point, a starting point for Afrikaner self-determination. We are a cultural group of Afrikaners that moved to Orania. We are about 3,000 residents right now. And right here we want to become a majority. We want to become independent, so in a certain sense as free of government as we can, to decentralize as much as we can, and we would like to govern ourselves, be able to make our own decisions, business decisions, be economically independent, politically independent, and all those types of things. The way we do it is by saying, is found in three main principles. The three main principles of Orania is, first of all, or for any independence project, does that matter? Our three main principles for any independence project is, first of all, you have to have your own land. If you want to be a people, a unique, descriptive Afrikaner cultural group of people, we say you need a territory as well. A people need a territory. We are a people, therefore we need a territory, therefore we need land. So the first principle is you need land that you can legally acquire. So that is what Orania is right now for us. It is our land, we've bought it, it's our private land, it's our place. The second one, and you'll see this quite a lot in Orania, it is one of the first things that people see, is that you have to practice with your own labor. There's a saying that says demographics dictates destiny, right? That's why we want to be a majority here as well. Demographics dictates destiny. So the destiny, the future of our people will be dictated by demographics. We say labor dictates demographics. So if we want to build our own independent little Afrikaner place, we need to be able to build it ourselves, because we want to stay the majority, and the labor will dictate that. So in Orania, you'll see a lot of people doing the jobs that you will see in South Africa is not done by Afrikaner or white people, which is actually sad. You'll see that in the West as well, in Europe and in America. People have they have been reduced to this mindset that certain jobs pertain to certain people. It's almost like a mindset that certain jobs are beneath certain people. In Orania, we completely break with that type of idea, that type of thinking. We have learned from our mistakes of the past. We say no more exploitation, no chance of exploitation in Orania. We want to do our own work ourselves. And then just as a little monument of that, you'll see this pipe running along the road here. When Orania was bought in like the 1990s, there was no way to get water from the river to this agricultural land, right? There was little, let's say 30 families about, let's say between 30 to 50 families living in Orania. We needed water from the river to get to the agricultural land. It's about a 10 kilometer pipe here. And then we were faced with our first big challenge. We don't know how to lay this pipe, we don't know how to weld it, and we don't really have people to do it for us. So are we going to import labor and have people that know how to do it and they can do it for cheaper as well? Are we going to use this method, this strategy? And those people, the people that lived here in those days said, no, we're going to stay true to our principles. What we would rather do, and this is where the Orania flag is the little guy rolling up his sleeve, right? Looking out for his future, doing his own thing. This is where, and this is why this is a little monument to us. This is where that thing really, they had to prove themselves. So 3 boys took off from school. They were matric boys. They took off from school and they went to study how to weld this pipe together. So they went to study, they learned the skills how to do it. Then they came back and they got a little help from their fathers as well, but I think it was a team of less than 10 people that laid this entire pipeline. They welded it together. And then afterwards, they completed school while the rest of the children was on holiday. So it's a little monument to us to prove that we can accomplish things ourselves. It's a reminder that we can do things ourselves and that this strategy helps us to empower ourselves, because now you have children that's able to to learn. They went out, they developed the skills, they're empowered, they can now do more things themselves. So it's just a little story about that pipeline. What the pipe provided for us is to turn this harsh Bo-Karoo, this Karoo environment, into agricultural land. You'll see a lot of pecan nuts in and around Orania. People even plant them in their gardens at home. It's almost time for harvest now, so pecan nuts is harvested in the winter, in June, July. This is also a great agricultural product, exporting product of Orania. It's nice for us because it can also be easily mechanized. Using only Afrikaner labor, it means that our labor is sometimes a little bit more expensive. There's less labor available, so things take longer. So we embrace practices that can be mechanized and can embrace the development of technology. So you'll see about a meter from the ground to the first branches, the stem, or the what you call it, the stem of the tree is quite clear. That's so that a tractor can come in or a machine can come in that clamp around the tree. It can shake the tree and the nuts fall down. They have sails down on the bottom where the nuts can be collected onto, and that can be towed away once again. So it's a little bit less labor intensive. And these trees grow quite good in Orania as well. This is a little, for older orchard, I think these trees are more than 15, maybe more than 20 years old at this point. It's a beautiful orchard, this one. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask as we go along.
I'd like to know with the pecan nuts, do you sell them out of Orania or is it utilized within Orania?
Actually, both. You'll find that people sell pecan nuts in almost every shop.
Okay.
But a lot of it is exported, and I think a lot of it is exported to China as well.
All right.
This is our cemetery. You won't see many. There's a little meerkat in there as well. You won't see many gates or electrified fences or what do you call palisades in Orania. It's quite safe. However, here's a gate, and that sign says, "Please close the gate because the small deer likes to eat the plants." So it's not a safety concern. It's more of an environmental concern. You'll see a lot of these lands. We are dependent on the river for water, so you'll see the what do you call a spilpunt in English? You'll see irrigation. Yeah, there's irrigation as well. And the local farmers, they plant twice a year. So this looks like mealies. It's soon to be harvested. Then they have to redo the ground and repurpose the ground so they can plant wheat for later in the year. So it's quite an intensive industry, but Oranians is not afraid to work hard. Okay, so those were the two first principles. One is own land. You have to own your own land. Two is you have to practice your own labor. The third one is you have to have your own institutions. Once again, this is the principles for self-determination. So the third one of having your own institutions, that's once again to become more independent. You cannot be dependent of others' institutions if you want to govern yourself. So our strategy in Orania has been described as crawling independence. We are slowly but sustainably working towards independence. We don't want to demand certain rights or demand certain things that we are owed, although I do think that we are owed some things, the Afrikaner people as a whole. However, that would be unrealistic to a certain extent. What we would rather do is create our own independence, create our own institutions, and then ask for recognition afterwards. That's a much more sustainable strategy. Rather than saying we should have the right to have our own municipality, we should have the right to have our own service delivery. We rather create that practical reality on the ground, create our own municipality, and then afterward we simply ask for recognition. Look, we can already do these things ourselves. Let us just continue with it because it's a solution for everyone involved.
Tell me something, with your agriculture, is it organic? Do you have organic vegetables and fruit?
Well, it's like a free market industry, right?
Yes.
So there are people that have tried different strategies. It's solely dependent on the farmers, what they want to try, what they want to do.
Okay.
Right now, there's a farmer not too far out who's experimenting with tunnels. You know, the nets and the agricultural tunnels, and he's planting like pumpkins and butternuts and things like that. So hopefully, I'm hopeful that if that succeeds, that would motivate others to plant more vegetables and procure foods in that way, organically. Yeah. Right now, the biggest industry is like the wheat fields, the corn fields, and the pecan nuts. But hopefully, as we develop, we'll get more vegetables, organic vegetables, and things like that.
Okay. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little, but do you have your own bakeries that you bake because you're planting a lot of wheat?
Yeah. Yeah, once again, most of those things are exported. Unfortunately, our industry, I would say, is one of the main focuses of Orania. That's one of the industries or the what you would call economic spheres that still needs a lot of development.
Okay.
So we don't have bakeries in the sense of, bake wheat or factories. We don't really have things like that yet. But we do have local businesses and entrepreneurs and people baking from home and things like that. We do have doing pastries and restaurants and things like that.
Home industry.
Yes.
Fantastic.
This is an interesting architectural style. You'll see a lot of different architectural styles in Orania. This is almost a Cape Dutch type of style, right? And it's a little bit climated or brought into the Karoo area. But the idea is, like, you see the white walls with the green roof. You'll see a lot of this in the Cape as well, with the porch facing to the street, so people can drink their coffee in the morning and also be quite inviting and sociable. And then from the other houses, you would see vineyards up on the loft or up on the porch, which is also Cape Dutch inspired. But yeah, you'll see a lot of different architectural styles in Orania. People like to do their own thing and develop in their own way. Okay, so this house to the right-hand side, up here, this almost beige-looking house. This is also quite an interesting design. This house is built with straw bales, hay bales. So the big hay bales, it looks like big bricks. It's bales of straw. They are stacked up on top of each other, and then it's plastered all around. And it's quite an interesting design. You know, if you think of the story of the three little pigs, you never think that a straw house would stay, would weather this weather. But it's quite nice because it's thick walls, so it's nice and insulated. In the summer, it can stay quite cool inside. In the winter, it contains the heat. and it looks nice from the outside as well. So that's another interesting architectural style if you want to consider that. This is not the only building that's built of straw. There's a few others. I'll show you if we pass them quickly. You will also see in Orania a lot of construction. Like I've said, we are a town with about 3,000 residents right now. We do have the land capacity, but the physical land capacity for about 10,000 residents. But it's mostly undeveloped land. So there's a lot of construction taking place, a lot of foundations and buildings being built and things like that. And that is because we need to grow. We have a lot of land to develop still. All around here is just little shops, small entrepreneurs, and people living, working in Orania. There's a tire shop and a little car mechanic business. You'll see a lot of trees in Orania. We are I would call environmental conscious people. We are Afrikaners, or another word you would hear is boere, farmers, not actual farmers, but that's where the word comes from, and that's because the Afrikaner people, the Afrikaner culture is quite in touch with nature. We are a nature-loving people. Also, we live here in a semi-desert area, so you can see these big trees, they provide a lot of shade, so this cools down the environment quite a lot. It looks beautiful when you look at like a photo from the sky, or from like what would you call it, the sky, a drone photo of Orania. It looks like a small little oasis in the semi-desert. Right now you will see the veld looks quite green. We have had a lot of rain recently, but mostly throughout the year it's quite harsh, it's quite dry. It's arid, it's a hard place to live in. Sometimes the temperatures can get extreme, but that's why we have to plant a lot of trees. And this house was built by a construction group consisting entirely of women. So this is a construction group consisting entirely of women that built this house right here. Also a beautiful design with the same green and white colors.
IT
Yes.
and your towers for your networks?
Yes, we do have towers, we have internet, we have good internet. There's a Vodacom tower as well. There's offices, municipal offices, there's engineers and lawyers and accountants. There are people who are working for other companies outside of Orania. We even have people like working for software companies that have clients in Dubai and all over the world.
Okay.
It's like your basic small town. We are also busy with laying down optic fiber for better internet infrastructure and things like that.
All right.
But at the end of the day, it's a free market, right? So people come to start their own businesses as the market and the scale of the market is growing. This is a beautiful little piece of, it's a Orania landmark, I would say. It's like almost a little monument. We call this the barefoot stairs. So or the mosaic stairs is the other name for that. And that you can see the symbolism. There's roots at the bottom, and then there's a tree sprouting out as you look upward. And then here in the middle there's Orania in broken mirrored pieces. The symbolism of the Orania is as you go up the stairs, it should be a reflection of yourself. You are part of the community, you are part of the town, so Orania is you and you are Orania. Then you'll see the tree branching upward. Once again, it's symbolic of our love of nature, love of trees, and our dependence on trees in this environment. There's a little basket just right off the stem of the tree. There's a basket of olives, which is also a product that has been planted here in Orania and agricultured. Right to the left, right about where the lady is now about to walk, is a little basket of pecan nuts. Up there's a peacock feather, and then there's the sun and also a few little other symbolisms. Beautiful little art project. we are also responsible, as we are responsible for our own town, our own community, our own future, we are also responsible to beautify it. So these are what you would call, people do it out of themselves. They ask to do it. They get the funds together and they beautify our town and our community. To the right hand side you will see a little piece of angle iron, and that is to accommodate people with bikes, so they can put it on the slope and then push it up and down their bikes. Yeah.
Tom, this is all changed since obviously last year. At the very top of this copy is the telephone exchange still there.
Like a telephone booth.
Yeah, no, not a booth. Where we had the frame, the telephone frame.
I'm not exactly sure. I don't think so. No, maybe not anymore. No, I'm not exactly sure. This house right here, you'll see they have painted different plants, karoo plants on the walls. This was once again one of those beautifying our town initiatives. It's a wall that faces the street, so the people that live there encourage the community for a competition who can paint the most beautiful wall. I'm not sure which one of those won, but it's a benefit. It's a benefit for the entire street, I would think. So it looks beautiful. As a part of that, we try to keep our streets clean and clear. We have had a lot of rain recently, like I've said, so you'll see a lot of mud and dust. Dust is one of the biggest issues when it comes to cleanliness in this environment. It's semi-desert, there's a lot of dirt roads, there's a lot of dust, but you won't see a lot of litter and papers and bags and plastic and things blowing about. It's clean. We keep a clean and orderly town. And we also recycle. If you want the municipality to take your garbage away or your rubbish away on certain days, you have to recycle. So we recycle as well, and that forms part of our green initiatives. Now, interesting, a question that I receive a lot is, how's the income disparity in Orania? What does the income equality, for lack of a better word, look like? In Orania, we have a quite integrated community. Obviously, you'll find poorer people everywhere, you find richer people everywhere. However, in Orania, there's no measurement of people on their financial gain. We keep an integrated community. When you live in Orania, you are living here for the same goal. You're living here, we have the same interests, we are living for the same goal, we're working towards the same goal, which is Afrikaner freedom. So on your right hand side in this entire street, this is like a residential area, residential block. You'll see different houses, different architecture styles, different property values as well. And then this block here, this little piece of small apartments here, is an initiative to accommodate single women. A lot of people come to Orania trying to start a new life, right? They have lost everything in South Africa, and South Africa can be quite hard to find work as a white person, especially because there's so many race-based laws. So people come here and they have lost everything in South Africa and they need a fresh start. Now, this is very affordable apartment accommodation for single women trying to restart their life. In Orania, we don't believe in handouts. We believe in independence, and we say that handouts and grants and things that you receive for free, that makes you more independent. It doesn't motivate you to do more, it actually motivates you to do less because you get things for free. So this is not free living, it's subsidized, it's affordable. The entry barriers have been lowered quite a lot, but you still have a responsibility to look after yourself. So that's just a little story about we have such a building for single men as well, for people to be able to start over.
Is there a mayor that governs the area in place, Orania?
Is there?
How is it governed?
Governed. Orania is actually the only town in South Africa that has its own local government. All other towns in South Africa is governed by a municipality, right? A district municipality. Orania is not governed by a district municipality. We have our own local governance. And I'll tell you, when we stop at the municipal offices, I'll tell you a little story about that. But yeah, to a certain extent, we govern ourselves here. Yeah, these are some of the new developments here, apartments, houses. You'll see some of the undeveloped land that can still be plotted. slowly but surely expanding all the way out. These are upper front, these are all new developments, new houses. So one can quite easily see where's the new developments. Like I said, the roads that is built from cement and concrete, we've bought it like this. But as we go left here, you'll see these are tar roads. These are new developments. This was open felt while I was growing up in Orania.
Were you born in Orania?
Yeah, I was born in Orania. I was born in the year 2000. I was born here. I went to school here, and then I went to study at the University of Pretoria.
Okay.
And then afterwards I came back. Now this big house here was built from the foundation to the final bolts in the roof by a single person. So this guy wanted to build his house here, and he built everything himself. Once again, that thing of that mentality of self-determination, doing things yourself, doing your own labor. It's monumentalized in this. Another story like that is this small little tin house, I would say. You can see the lady waving at us. She and her husband moved to Orania. They lived in a tent by the river while they were constructing this house. Afterwards, a few of the community members came together, and they at least gave them a caravan to live in. So they helped them with a caravan. But that lady and her husband, older than 80 years old, they came here and they started to build this house with their own two hands. Later, the community started helping them on weekends and after working hours, you know, for no monetary gain, helping those two to build their own home. So that is where we find our pride in. We South Afrikaners can work hard, and we are willing to take responsibility for ourselves, and that is the mentality with which we build Orania as well. Yeah.
So people here are quite helpful there.
Yeah, people tend to be quite helpful here. We have very, very low crime statistics in Orania. Obviously not zero. Wherever there's people, you'll find crime. But people have aligned interests, right? So people tend to help each other, especially in emergencies. There has been so many stories of, you know, a house burning down, and then the community comes together. Before you can even arrive at the house to help, someone has already set up a fund, you know, to help them. When the river overflows, people go help where there's a flood. When a roof blows off with storm winds, there's people to help save what can be saved and things like that. So even though that we can disagree internally, and we can disagree quite hard sometimes, and you have healthy internal politics, people tend to stick together in Orania, and they tend to help each other, which is very nice. This is our security building, speaking of which. It's a small group of people. I think there are less than there's four permanent workers for security. We don't have police in Orania. We only have our own private security forces, which is this building. And then a lot of, what is a vrijwilligers in English? People that
Free will.
Yeah, that help from their free will. What do you call it? Volunteers.
Yes.
We have a lot of volunteer help. So people organize themselves in volunteers to also help do patrols, and then furthermore we have a very good relationship with the local police departments around Orania. We also say that a healthy, a safe environment, right? Not only a safe Orania, but a safe environment, a safe district, a safe province will mean a safe Orania as well. So that's why our security teams have helped on farms, have helped in neighbouring towns and so on as well. This is another bigger construction project. When we come back here on this road, I'll talk a little bit more about this design, which can be quite interesting. On this open piece of felt here to my left, we are building and planning a city square. So this all needs to be developed over the future couple of years, and we're going to build a city square here, which is going to be the main hub of Orania. Here you can see the internet towers, the Vodacom tower and things like that. I think one of these is the optic fiber as well, which is slowly but surely being laid to different places. And then this big building here is our municipal offices. So this is where the town council works. All of the different the authority figures of Orania, these are their offices. We have our own form of arbitration and mediation, so in a certain sense our own legal systems. When I said previously, I'll tell you an interesting story about the municipality of Orania and why Orania is the only town in South Africa with its own local government. Okay, so Orania was bought in 1991, right? In 1997, I think, I might be wrong, I might be getting this date wrong, but around that time, South Africa's land law changed, which required all the land in South Africa to be under a certain district municipality, right? So there's no place that's no man's land. Everything is governed by some municipality. At that time, Orania already had a functioning local government, right? It was a de facto local government, right? It was the reality. We were providing our own people with our own services. So we didn't want to be. We should have been part of the Thembelihle Municipality, which is the municipality from Hopetown. But we said, look, we can already govern ourselves. We can already perform the municipal duties. Just recognize that and let us continue with what we are doing. Now, obviously, the government didn't want to concede, and it became a court case later on. And as court cases go, it drags on and on and on, and there's just court case after court case. And then eventually in the year 2000, there was a national election. But this was a constitutional case. And the national election cannot go on while there's a constitutional case still hanging, right? So the government sat with a situation where a little town with less than 1,000 residents is going to suspend the entire national election for the entire South Africa. So afterward, they settled outside of the court that Orania can be a special zone. It can be that's why I also won't say we have our own municipality. Local government is a better way to describe that, but we are now our own local government here in Orania, the only town that has that.
So your traffic department, does that come under Hopetown or Kimberley?
Our traffic department, no, we do our own traffic.
So your desk, vehicle, this
one.
Yes. Well, I'm not exactly sure. Like it's still South African standardized and things like that. We don't have our own passports and things like that. We don't have our own licenses, our own passports. So everything is still South African standardized. What local government actually pertains to is having our own water rights. We can pump water out of the river. We buy our electricity directly from Eskom. We have our own security services. We have our own municipal services like infrastructure and other municipal services. And then we also have the right to ask levies for property owners. So it's our own, in quotation marks, a little tax system to be able to fund all of these things. Yeah. Okay, so this building that's being built here, just behind it, if you look through the pillars, you'll see a similar building on the other side. This is quite an interesting design. And the idea is that it's something that we call a living building, a living area. This will be its own little town square, a little smaller square. We are going to call it the work square or the labor square. More about that later, but right now the uniqueness of these buildings are at the top half. If you look at the building over the street, at the top half there's student accommodation, and then on the bottom half you'll see there's offices. And why it's called a living building is because during the day, while the students are out, on campus going to classes, you have people living and being busy with things here on the bottom half. There's people working here, and there's coffee shops and things like that. And then while the office workers go back home, the students come back to this building as well because they are living here. And then there's life again. People are busy, and so it's never a dead space. It's never a place where people are not busy with something. That's the same idea that they are building right here. And then across the street on this side, they are slowly but surely expanding the elderly care facilities. So this is a nice integrated little patch of Orania which can later on become, there's a lot of plans to make this beautiful and maybe have a fountain and coffee shops and a nice integrated place where you can study, you can work, you can socialize, all those types of things in one little patch of the town. Here close to the elderly care facilities, we have our medical facilities and security facilities. Little medical center, emergency center as well. You saw the helipad back there, and there's a few ambulances as well for bigger emergencies if people need to be taken out of town. But most of the things that's general medical concerns we can look after here in Orania. Then we have a gym here. That's this big building, a membership gym. And as we cross the road here, we'll come back down this road later, but up front there's a little bit more of an industrial area. You can see that as well. A lot of the roads in Orania is still gravel roads. And unfortunately, it's going to stay gravel roads for quite some time. The reason for that is to tar a road is very, very expensive. It really costs a lot of money. I think it's more than 1.3 million rands for less than a kilometer, right? It's very expensive, and the cost of benefit is just not worth it, because I can drive on this road to work and back every single day. I might have to drive a little bit slower, but it's not going to impact my car with real damage. It's not going to make that I'm not able to work anymore. Having a tar road here will just be a luxury. That money can better be implemented in infrastructure that actually helps the economy, like optic fiber, like internet, like water, like electricity. I would much rather become load shedding or independent from Eskom than I would have tar roads. So you ask about where people work. Funding the internal economy of Orania is much more important than tarring roads right now. Resources is hard to come by, especially for us that is self-funding. We receive zero funds from the government. So we need to be quite strategic with the things that we spend our money on, and right now tar roads is not going to be one of those. Maybe with some investment along the way, we can tar all of these roads. So this is the entrance to one of the schools. You'll see, like, these are new roads, with new I mean like more than 5 years, but you can judge the age of the road by the size of the trees. So it's still small trees, they're not yet beneficial, but in 15 years time people are going to be very thankful to those that planted the trees when they did. And that's quite an example of how Orania develops. As we develop, we plant trees and grass and things all along the way. So this is one of the this is the campus. This is a tertiary institution. We focus on masonry and plumbing and electricians and things like that. It's like a technical school, yeah. And that's especially because those are the skills we need the most right now. Orania doesn't have the market yet to facilitate massive engineering offices and big lawyer office buildings and accountants and things like that. Although we do have some of those, what we really need is electricians, plumbers, masonry, people that know how to work with their hands, people that can develop our town and can build here and live here. This is a school, a high school. It's from grade 0, what do you call a kindergarten over there, all the way to matric. We have 2 private schools in Orania. We also have dormitories where children come from all over South Africa to study here, and people come from the neighbouring towns to study here as well. And then we also have like a hybrid model where children stay in another part of the country but still study at one of our schools. Up front you'll see like netball fields and tennis courts. Now things like this especially, we have a private school which is privately funded. Building something like this is incredibly difficult for us. So for me, growing up here, thinking like this was felt and this was rocks and this was just, a harsh environment, seeing this right now, it almost blows my mind to think that we were able to create something like that. And that makes me incredibly proud, because things like this is very hard for us to finance in the first place, and in second place to build ourselves furthermore. So that is kind of the Orania spirit, right? We have teachers and parents and different Orania institutions coming together, having fundraiser events, raising funds for over 10 years to be simply able to create things like that. And now that we have it, we're going to maintain it, and we're going to send kids to participate in world leagues if we can. So we're going to value it, is what I'm trying to say. Also, it forces us, our principles and our way of doing things forces us to continually have a mindset of pioneering. Because we are self-funded, because we have to find ways to do these things, we have to have a pioneer mindset of how can we do it better, how can we do it new, how can we do it unique, how can we make the process easier and quicker and less expensive. And that empowers you as a people. That empowers you to think strategically and economically and effectively. So one of the ways that those courts were funded is local farmers here, they made a competition where they say on 1 hectare of their fields, of their entire like wheat field or corn field, one patch, let's not say 1 hectare, I'm not exactly sure what the size would be, but let's say one patch, we all designate a patch, let's say it's a hectare, and we will see who can yield the best harvest off of this patch. So there's a competition. You can choose the patch yourself on your farm, and then there's a competition to see who can get the highest harvest off that patch, and then the proceeds from that patch is given to the school. Well, the school on their side, they give recognition for the guy that had the biggest patch, and they have this whole event and gala and things like that. So it's a fun little inspiring community event every year when they come together and they give the prizes for the people that had the biggest patches of corn or the biggest harvest or whatever. And while in reality they are funding projects like rugby fields and netball courts and classrooms and things like that. If we would continue down this road where we're not going right now, there's not really much to see down there, but what is there which is interesting is our battery. We have a big battery recently bought, installed in 2024, which is last year, in August of last year. And we also have a big solar farm. Right now, with all of the individual solar panels that people put up themselves, and with our solar farm, Orania is currently producing more than 42% of its own electricity, right? So that is a big number. We are slowly but surely becoming more and more energy independent. So that's less and less energy that we have to buy from Eskom. And the other thing is, when load shedding inevitably returns, well, maybe I shouldn't be too negative, but I don't believe that the load shedding crisis is over. But should load shedding return, Orania will be the only town in South Africa that's load shedding free. At least I think. If it becomes extreme, like stage 6 load shedding or stage 8, I can't remember which is the biggest one, Orania can be load shedding free from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. Also, we can dictate, right? So even if we need to put off the electricity somewhere in town, we can choose where in town are we going to put it out, and rather than putting the electricity out in peak times, we can just carry the entire weight of the town on our battery, and then save on electricity during times that businesses are not open or people are not cooking and things like that. So the idea that once again, that idea of becoming independent, when you're buying electricity from Eskom or you're paying your municipality for your electricity bill, you're paying your electricity bill, and then they are not supplying electricity for you. First of all, you feel like you've been cheated out of your bill because you keep on paying, you don't receive it, so that's not nice. On the other hand, it's a little bit of freedom that's taken away from you. Now, you can't decide when you're going to have a hot shower. You can't decide when you're going to cook your food. You can't decide when you're going to work on your emails because the Wi-Fi is done all. So these are personal freedoms that are infringed upon. What we do here is we say, once again, you can argue, I have a right, I have paid my bill, I have a right for electricity. Give me, or I demand what is rightfully mine. You can have these arguments. I'm not saying that's wrong, But Orania's strategy is create a practical reality and enjoy those practical freedoms. So even though we have the right for electricity because we pay our bill, we realize that the reality of South Africa is right now that's not an option. So we have to think of the future. We have to create our own electricity plants and our own solar farms and things like that. And that's not to combat load shedding. That is to become independent, to not be dependent on someone else for basic things like that. So yeah, that's basically the Orania mindset once again, that independence mindset of doing things yourself. We see that as a big solution for South Africa as well. People, we feel like, or the strategy or the mindset is that people are becoming too dependent on a centralistic government that cannot fulfill in its duties, right? And also the government love the dependence of the people of South Africa. We've seen during the last budget meeting the way they are proud of how many social grants were given out this year. You know, it's like a big number and they show it on the screen and people applaud. For us, that's a sad reality. When people are dependent on social grants, that's not something that should be celebrated. It's a different type of thinking. For the government right now, they are proud to show that we were able to help so many people. That's the way that they interpret that. We say that you have made people more dependent on the government. So it's quite clear that the government love dependence and they love that people are dependent on them. We break with that idea. We say take responsibility for yourself, give power back to the people. South Africa should not be managed centrally, but more locally. If towns have more rights for themselves, more power for themselves, I think that many towns will share the same successes as Orania, if they have more say right at what happens in their community. This house right here, and many of these around here, was built with a interesting type of brick. It's a brick that is Orania patent. It's a local guy here that makes these bricks. And we always ask people when we stop here, what does that brick remind you of, if you look at that shape? What type of toy?
Lego.
Yeah, Lego, exactly. You see, it's an interlocking brick, so it can be easily stacked upon each other. You stack them upon each other. It's quite light as well. It's quite a thick brick as well, so it insulates nicely. And once again, it's one of the pioneering mindsets. We're using our own labor. Own labor is less valuable, it's expensive. We need to think of a method that we can build faster, make it easier for a smaller team to build houses. So get a lightweight brick that can be easily stacked, easily built with, and then you create new things like this, new effective things. These are once again more affordable housing. Many of these houses were built by the municipality or a combination of different institutions in Orania. Obviously some of them were built by developers as well and sold for a profit. Many of these, like the red door houses we're driving past them now, have been built by institutions. They have been subsidized, they are not being sold for a profit, and they are safeguarded from big investors. The idea is to be able to give people that have never owned property before a fair chance to be able to enter the property market. So those houses with the red doors are some of those subsidized houses. For me personally, I'm still quite young, so I'm sparing I'm saving up my money to become a property owner myself. So I'm very keen, and these looks like nice properties, right? When you're a first-time buyer, it's an interesting place to consider.
Where do you live, Ewald?
Here in Thembelihle.
Oh, you live here as well?
Well, I don't live here.
Property, yeah. Okay.
We just passed one of them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that would be a house for you to buy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Are you selling?
No. It'd be a mistake.
Yeah. The property market in Orania, that's actually one of our big challenges. The property market in Orania has reached like a bursting point. We have a challenge where many people want to move to Orania. Like I said, we still have a lot of undeveloped land. So we don't have enough developed land that can be sold in the property market. However, there's a big demand. Many people want to move and invest here. So what happens when demand is big but supply is low? Your prices go up. So there are many initiatives to roll out as much developed land, developed residential areas, build more houses, get them in the market as soon as possible. so that we can stabilize the market. The other issue is because labor is more expensive, that relates to the price of property, and many of the building materials need to be imported to Orania. If you drove here from Johannesburg, you'll know how far that journey is, how rough that journey can be. So just think about the trucks having to come all the way from the factories with the materials to Orania. I've heard that's one of the most, one of the major expenses in building is the transport costs.
Especially with fuel.
Especially with fuel, yeah. So, but it's a free market system. So for me, I hope that the industry can develop, that some factories that make construction material will see this as an opportunity to create more bricks, more construction materials in Orania. These are some of the municipal workers as well. So there you can see the municipal gear, municipal clothing. This is a road that has recently been tarred. Looks quite nice. So where there's space in the budget, we luckily see more and more roads being tarred, especially in high density areas like this. This is quite an interesting concept as well. This is an apartment complex. Has almost a European look to it, like a European courtyard if you look from this side. I hope everyone can see inside here. So it's almost like a little plaza area. Every year with Christmas, they put up the most beautiful lights down here. Once again, it's quite sociable with the doors facing each other, and people can sit on their porch and discuss they can have a chat about the goings on. And then once again, you'll see the trees. We always plant trees. We always try to be green. Even more so, these are fruit-bearing trees. So
Lemons or oranges?
most of those, I think, is nectarines.
Okay.
I might be wrong. Maybe it's like a combination of lemons, oranges, and nectarines. But yeah, so they have fruit as well. So it's to the benefit not only for the shade and things like that. A beautiful little apartment complex. We say in Orania that we want to create a city. That is true, we want to build a city. However, we can define what a city looks like, what a city means. We don't want to build a metropolis, we don't want to build a concrete jungle like New York or Joburg for that matter. We want to build a city that's representative of our Afrikaner culture, which is nature loving. So you'll see a lot of emphasis on parks as well, green parks. You'll see these young trees. Once again, they don't provide much now, but in 15 to 35 years, people are going to be so thankful that they were planted today or whenever. But yeah, so we have parks in between the residential areas. That's beautiful. We want to build a city that's green, a city that develops horizontally rather than vertically. So we also have a cap on 3 stories. You're not allowed to build higher than 3 stories up. We don't want to build apartment complexes where people are, bunched in like in a box of sardines just to save on space and all those type of things. We will use the land and the space we have strategically to create a place that can be effective as well as beautiful and in feeling with the nature and the environment around us. The idea is to create they call it a 20-minute town. We also try to motivate people to be pedestrians and to cycle, to walk and cycle rather than drive. That's also because it's such a hot climate. We still need a lot of ways to go about that. All of these trees, they need to get bigger because it's too. Walking up this street, for instance, it's a little bit hot. It's a little bit hard to walk to work. But the idea is to create a 20-minute town where everything you need is always 20 minutes walking distance from your home. But that's the future plans, but that's a strategy that we're working with. 20-minute green town, city.
Are you allowed to fly a drone here?
You're allowed to, yeah. If you want to fly a drone, you should just tell me. Let me just check with the security teams because we have an airstrip that's not too far away, so we always just have to see for traffic, to look out for traffic.
Oh yeah, because helicopter.
Yeah, the helicopter as well. We do have a small little airstrip with there's a flight club. They do like the paragliding and gyrocopter and things like that, but we're never sure when someone's flying and the drone can quite disrupt them. But there's a nice space. We'll end the tour at Monument Hill, and there's a nice lookout point where you can use your drone. Yeah, that should be nice. So Orania has a steadily growing economy, a steadily growing population. Over the last 5 to 10 years, we had a population growth of between 10 to 12%, which is quite large. This year or last year, it dropped down to 6%, which is more reasonable. But we'll see growth spurts in the future as well, or once again, as we develop further. But we have a healthy economy inside here as well. We're not the richest town, the richest place to live in, but we don't measure our value according to GDP. We rather measure it by, quality of life.
Yes.
Which is really where the riches lie, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly. So once again, you don't see electrified fences in Orania. I'm pretty sure that many of these people living here, especially the doctor, for instance, he can receive a much higher salary living in Pretoria, being a medical operator right there. But then he'll have to travel about 45 minutes to work every day. He'll have to live in a gated community or a estate. He'll have to pay lots in security. He won't be able to greet every person he's driving past, all those types of things. So obviously Orania is not for everyone. Not everyone agrees with what we are doing, or they're not up for the rural lifestyle. But we're not measuring people's quality of life according to GDP or financial gain or things like that.
I mean, we even noticed someone left the laptop on the table. You wouldn't see that in Joburg.
You wouldn't see that in Joburg. No. No, definitely not. No.
Your GDP is wheat and
No, yeah, well, it's like a free market. The biggest industries in Orania is construction right now, construction and maintenance, and I would say ground level projects, but obviously also tourism.
Yeah.
We are a cultural town, and we are also for a town of 3,000 people, we tend to be a big name in South Africa, so people are curious, they come to visit here. So there are a lot of guest houses and there's a hotel and things like that, so people come to see us.
And look at YouTube, how many people are filming you guys now?
Yeah, too many actually. Too many. We have received too many meals. Once again, look at these trees, right? They're still too small to be too valuable, but at some point this is going to be a beautiful sidewalk with these trees growing up.
Yes.
This is our own local bank. I'm just quickly driving past, but that's our own local bank, a cooperative bank. That serves our people in Orania as well.
this is really green.
This is the other school to my right-hand side. I told you that we have 2 private schools. This is the other one. Also from kindergarten all the way to matric. And then to the left hand there's more residential areas.
It's quite green here, right?
Right now, yeah, because we have had a lot of rain. If you would come to visit, even like in winter time or in summertime, now autumn is the best time to come because you can see the veld looks green, but it's actually it's semi-desert, so we are very thankful for the rain. We're like very, very thankful for the rain. People go out and they, they're almost dancing in the rain when it starts to rain here.
So you must have a lot of water tanks.
No, because we are next to the river, water is not too big of an issue. But people do catch up rain. Yeah, people do catch up rain from their houses, from the roofs as well. This is an interesting monument. This one right here. It's called the Cook Sister Monument. Have any of you ever seen that shape?
No.
No.
Okay, so that is a Afrikaner treat, right? That's like a small little pastry. It's like a cake. It's a Cook Sister. It's about this size. When we get back to the when we get back to the information center, you should buy a packet. It's the sweetest things. It's an Afrikaner treat. It's called the Cook Sister.
Yeah, they're nice.
It's very, very sweet, yes, and but it's kind of a weird idea to have a monument dedicated to a treat, right? So it's almost a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek gesture as well. But this tells the story of, once again, not becoming a victim or admitting to a victim mentality, but despite your environmental realities, creating your own freedoms. Right after the Anglo-Boer Wars, which we were defeated by the British, and then we had a little rebellion as well in the 1914s. 1914 to 1916, we had a little rebellion, and we had a lot of criminals of war, Afrikaner criminals of war, and we had a lot of war debt, and we needed to pay that off, and that led to something that we call I think they call it in Afrikaans the arm blanke vraagstuk, the poor white question. We had a lot of people that were actually being depressed and financially depressed and things like that. And there was seemingly no way to get out of this financial depression. And the women of the Afrikaner women started to bake these pastries and sell them at churches and bazaars and at schools. And little things, just like almost like Solidarity is 10 Rand to build a campus university. All these things started to add up, and they were able to pay off the entire war debt, and then further they were able to build schools and churches with the funds that were made of these. So they are called the Barefoot Women. We have the Barefoot Women movement in Orania. That's in reference to another woman from our history, that when we were threatened by the Zulus in Natal, some of the Afrikaners of the Voortrekkers said we should move back to the English colony. It's almost like the story of Moses in Egypt, right? The Bible story of Moses bringing his people out of Egypt, and then as soon as they were free from the Egyptians, they realized what responsibility means. They said, we would rather go back to the English, or we would rather go back to England. At least there we had food on the table, even though we were not free. And this woman said, no, I would rather walk barefoot across the Drakensberge than go back on the English rule. So that's where the barefoot movement comes from, that thought of taking responsibility up for yourself. So the mosaic stairs that I showed you previously, that's one of their projects, the Barefoot Women's Project. This is another one of their projects. It beautifies our town, and it's also a beautiful symbolism of our history and our culture. There to the left-hand side is some of our sport fields, a rugby field, more netball courts. That is from the municipality side, not from the school side. This up here is a town hall, community hall. So here we put on shows and concerts, local concerts and plays and things like that.
Get a lot of snakes.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of snakes here. A lot of wildlife as well. It's not uncommon to see like what do you call it, dassie in English? Like
Hare, like a rock.
yeah, we have a lot of hares, a lot of rabbits, snakes, meerkats, things like that.
Spiders.
Spiders, yeah, you can find a lot of spiders. Just quickly about this monument right here. This is a monument that was thrown out of a museum in, I think, Johannesburg. That was around 2000 and, might be wrong, but I'm going to take an educated guess, and I think it was 2007, might be way earlier. But it was thrown out of a museum because the space were made, reconstructed for parking or a mall or whatever. And this is the Irish monument. And there's 4 pillars. And it's in reference to the 4 commandos that came to help the Afrikaners fight against the British in the war that ended in 1902. And actually during that time, Paul Kruger told the Irish volunteers that wanted to come over, they were talking through letters and said, we want to come help fight the British. We already lost our independence in Ireland, let's help you preserve yours. And we told them that they shouldn't come here because they are citizens of the British Empire. When you fight against the British, it's treason. It's high treason, and you can be shot. You can be executed for that. We would just be enemies of war, you know, war criminal. Well, not war criminals. We will be enemies of war, and we will be thrown into prisons, and you will be executed and come. And still, 4 commanders came, and they helped us fight against the British. And this is currently the only monument paying tribute to the Irish volunteers helping us fight in the war in South Africa. So that also speaks to why it's important to have a place like Orania, right? On the surface, it's not easy to see that the Afrikaner culture is slowly but steadily diminishing in South Africa. But as soon as you think deeper, there are certain things of our culture that we would like to preserve. If I want to speak Afrikaans as an educational, academical and a business language, I cannot realistically do that in Cape Town or in Johannesburg or in Pretoria because nobody would understand me. The same thing goes for a Zulu speaking person or a Xhosa speaking person. We have all adapted in South Africa to speaking English. That has become the main South African language. Although there's more than 11 different official languages and each language has the right to speak it, it's once again, you don't have that practical freedom to live in an Afrikaans or a Zulu environment. So that also means you can't put up statues or monuments of your history and your culture. That wouldn't be fair to everyone living in an integrated space. Like this Irish monument, I cannot really say that there's space for it in Johannesburg anymore. And that's why certain spaces, cultural exclusive spaces, is important, because if we throw these things away, it's lost forever. If we say there's no more space for that, we're going to move on to integrated South Africa. That would mean that every different culture, and there's a lot of different cultures in South Africa, but everybody has to accommodate. Everybody has to give up something of themselves to go into an integrated future together. And some people are just not willing to do that. So Orania is an option for Afrikaners that would rather be, would rather live in an Afrikaner environment. And then by extent, we also see ourselves as an option, a blueprint for other cultures to do the same, would they choose to do that. And we strongly believe that they would enjoy the same type of successes that we have.
That's how you got the name Orania, right?
We actually didn't name the town. The Department of Waterworks had a competition back in the day, like in the 1970s, before we built it or bought it. They had a competition of someone, competing names against each other. And most people voted for Orania, and I suspect also Orange River.
Yeah.
Orange in Afrikaans is Orania, and then the name Orania. And I've read some things that there's a connection between the Nia and water. I'm not exactly sure where that, or canals, watering canals. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from. But anyway, so there where the trees are, that's where the river comes down. That's actually the border between the Northern Cape and the Free State. So those lands that you see over there, that's Free State land. That's the border of Orania as well. And then there's almost like, you'll see, it's obviously a road because the trees are stacked so long. So there where that road go, just beyond, you see that white gate, small little gate standing out.
Yeah.
There's a field just behind it, and then there's more fields behind that. Those fields behind that, that's not Orania's ground, but that's field that's still in Orania. So that's the other border, all the way over that hill, that big hill, and then when we get on top, I'll show you the other part going around. But yeah, so this is all still undeveloped land, right? Here you can also see the harshness of the environment. Look at all of these rocks. And these are just above ground. It happens so many times that we start to dig, for foundations, and then they hit like a big rock bank.
Oh, yeah.
Then they have to drill through it, or we have even had a situation where they blasted it with dynamite to get it loose, and that gets very expensive.
That's parts of Kimberley is like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's this whole Northern Cape area. It's like that.
Now these the trucks that are passing through, what's on those vehicles?
The big trucks,
Yeah.
the big logistical trucks coming through. This is obviously, it's a national road going through, and I think that it's mainly iron ore and coal. But yeah, they don't stop at Orania, it's just the road going through. So they're mainly transporting.
There's just stuff in the road. Huh?
Yeah, that's quite hard for us as well. The roads around here is terrible, especially this one going out to Hopetown, because it's these big trucks that drives on them, and then the roads full of potholes. Actually, sometimes because it can get quite hot as well, so the tar starts to melt or it gets soft, and then you can actually see like the road it pushes it out to the sides. It is quite interesting.
Well, what they've done in Kimberley on that is they've put these interlocking bricks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, concrete bricks.
Yeah.
To stop that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Melting.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to think new. Okay, so this is called Monument Hill. And the reason for that is quite obvious. Yep. These are all busts of Afrikaner statesmen, politicians and leaders throughout our history. All of these have been thrown out of museums in South Africa, or they have been gifted to Orania. None of these we've made ourselves, none of these we have purchased. There's still one missing right there, and that's because we haven't received a bust of President Steyn, which was the president of the Free State, at the same time as President Paul Kruger, but we haven't received one or had one gifted to us as well. They are organized in a semicircle, and they are looking towards this guy right here, which is the small giant. This is the mascot, the mascot of Orania is on our flag as well. Symbolism of this is, that's our past. It's to the back of the small giant, which is the future. It's in our past, you cannot change it, you can only go forward. All of them are dead as well, they have no influence on the future anymore, but they are behind us and they are our past. They also cannot see over the horizon. They cannot see over the horizon of this small hill, however the small giant can. So when you look over the horizon, you see the city, you see the town. And that's our future, and that is where we are working towards. We are working on the basis of own labor, building our own city ourselves, rolling up our sleeves and looking at the future. And that is what the small giant represents here. So that's just a little bit of the symbolism of this. Yeah. I just want to take off my my jacket. Yeah, I got it.
It's getting a bit hot.
This is a cool day, Graham.
Eh?
This is a very cool day.
Yeah, but I will understand it definitely.
The birds are trying to go for it.
Really? I see that. Okay, so you ask about the border, right? So when you go past those lands, those fields, that hill over there is part of Orania as well. That big field is part of Orania. There's more agricultural land behind those big trees back there, and then all the way to that small little more affordable housing places we have been, and then all of this around. So that's about the area. But growing up here, I missed the local community, the rural community. I missed them too much. The atmosphere here, I missed too much. I didn't miss the climate at all. Something to get used to.